Party militants at the Sinthiou Alhaji Voter Registration Center expressed concern over character attacks and ethical divisive means ahead of the December presidential elections. The commander of the Gambian Navy says the key to a successful maritime operation is cooperation at all levels. These and more coming on Gambia 24. Stay tuned. Good evening, viewers. This is Gambia 24 here on Africa TV with me, Sohna Tunkara, and now to our news in detail. Gambian politics in recent months have been characterized by personal character attacks by politicians and opposing ends as campaigning enters intensive phase ahead of 2021 presidential elections. This recent surge in character attacks and the use of ethically divisive language by politicians in an effort to get an edge over their political opponents have become a cause for concern. More of that in this report.
In an interview with the party agents of the UDP, NPP and the APRC at the Sinthiou Voter Registration Center, the party agent of the APRC, Mr. Modujane, condemned the act, saying tribalism has no place in the Gambia and that Gambians should do away with identifying along tribal lines and instead put Gambia first.
Tribalism
The only way we can get rid of tribalism is to put Gambia first, to identify ourselves as Gambians, rather than along tribal lines. When one asks about your identity, the best answer you can give is to say, I am a Gambian, instead of saying, I am Wolof, I am Mandinka, I am Fula, or Jola. That is the only way we can end tribalism in politics.
The party agent for NPP, Mr. Modu Saho, said NPP condemned such acts, but was quick to point finger at UDP for causing trouble. Saho added that UDP had and has continued to be the origin of problems in the country, urging all political leaders to come out and condemn acts of tribalism that can pose a threat to the country's peace.
Problem here is all UDP and their party leader, because we always call him in the social media to stop his people insulting people. And we had the WhatsApp groups in this country, anything, Kani Wuleng, Bambadinka. Those are all insult forums created by the UDP members, and their party leader is aware of it. We came out and condemned it, and we call him to come out and call a press release to condemn those kind of things, because of it might end up mixing the Gambian, it might end up creating something in this country.
UDP party agent Lamin Marina said he strongly condemned violence in any shape or form. He also opposed the unfortunate event that transpired between the UDP visiting team and the people of Kanilai, saying Fonyi is part of Gambia and all political parties have a right to visit any part of the country.
Well, I condemn it, strongly condemn it for that matter.
Well, I condemn it strongly. Condemn it for that matter because it is something that we all should say no to. We should all say no to violence. It is true we all do not belong to one political party, but that should not be a reason to fight one another. Fonyi is part of the Gambia, so to my understanding, every political party has the right to visit anywhere in the country. I see this as a wrong, and I condemn it.
The Gambia held its last presidential election on December 1st, 2016, which was the Gambia held its last presidential election on December 1st, 2016, which was disputed by former President Yahya Jammeh, whose 22-year rule ended. It put the country's fate into uncertainty as thousands of citizens were displaced before he eventually went into exile in Equatorial Guinea. Reporting for iAfrica TV, I am Hadija Haita Toure.
Party militants at the Sinthiou Alhaji Voter Registration advised people to refrain from character assassination ahead of the presidential elections. Now from that, the Honorable Member for Serekunda and Chairman of the Public Enterprise Committee, Honorable Halifa Saleh, has on Monday briefed lawmakers on the activities of the Public Enterprise Committee. Honorable Saleh gave a thorough review and statement of activities of the committee tasked with carrying out lawful checks and scrutiny over public enterprises and agencies and the public service delivery systems. Details of that in this report.
The chairman of the Public Enterprises Committee, Honorable Halifa Saleh, said the Public Enterprises Committee is tasked with the responsibility of gathering facts and making findings with the mandate to come up with concrete recommendations geared towards making sure the activities of public enterprises go on as it is supposed to.
The dictates of conscience and national interest compels me as chairperson of the Public Enterprises Committee to give an explanatory memorandum followed by a statement on the operations of the committee. For your information, the committee is charged with the responsibility of gathering facts and making findings with the view to proffer recommendations on all matters relating to public enterprise.
He added that the committee members have been actively involved in the dialogue on the work plan between all stakeholders involved, from the public enterprises to the National Audit Office and external auditors, to end the delay in the submission of audited reports.
The committee members have facilitated and have been witnesses to the dialogue on the work plan between the respective public enterprises and the National Audit Office, as well as, on one hand, and some external auditors on the other hand, to put an end to the backlog in submitting audited financial statements. It is part and parcel of our work plan to facilitate the submission of financial statements up to the year ended 31st December 2019 for inclusion in the consolidated report covering 2015 to 2019.
According to him, the timely submission of financial statements by public enterprises is important because it guarantees its inclusion in the development budget, which helps finance development projects for the government.
Without the timely submission of financial statements by public enterprises, the taxes and profits from public enterprises that should accrue annually to cushion revenue earnings of government in order to meet expenditure outlays could not be accurately determined. In the same vein, without the timely submission of financial statements, the development budget will not register expenditure by public enterprises to finance development projects for government through lawful or unlawful executive orders.
The principal objective of public enterprises is to operate as successful businesses, to be as focusable and efficient as possible, and to operate in accordance with the government objective for the sector, and to be a good employer. Reporting for iAfrica TV, I am Hadija Haita Toure.
From the report by Haita Toure, we move on. The commander of the Gambian Navy has said that the key to a successful maritime operation is cooperation at national, regional, and at international level. With the large and excessive roles and responsibilities of the Gambian Navy, the command's eyes are open to partnership with different agencies. Fatma Kasim has the rest of that.
The CDS visit to military establishments to take note of operational readiness of the Army and their living conditions across the country has reached the Gambia Navy headquarters in Banjul. The tour was also meant for CDS Yankuba Drame to interact with stakeholders of the Army to smoothen the military-civilian relationship to suppress crimes across the country. During his meeting with the sea soldiers, Commodore Madani Senghor, commander of the Gambian Navy, explained their law enforcement in the maritime environment.
I want to assure you that the Gambian Navy is working in partnership with all the relevant stakeholders in the civil sector as well as in the security sector. As this is assigned by the Gambian Navy Act 1996. And the Gambian Navy happens to be the only law enforcement agency under the armed and security forces that have the role of enforcing the laws of the land in the maritime environment, extending all the way to the 12 nautical miles territorial waters.
The job of the Navy is done in partnership with several stakeholders, including the Gambia Immigration Department and Customs.
In this regard, there is need for cooperation and partnerships with the various stakeholders vis-a-vis the immigration to prevent illegal entry or departure by sea to the Gambia, the customs vis-a-vis the loading or unloading of commodities, cars, or any other article at sea to enter the Gambia or even to depart, the fire and rescue services to respond to emergencies that are happening in the maritime environment, the Gambia Maritime Administration, as the lead agency that is responsible for maritime administration and maritime matters in the Gambia Navy is their enforcement arm of these regulations.
CDS Yankuba Drame described his interface with members of the armed forces as constructive and enlightening.
We had direct discussions with serving members of the armed forces. Equally, we had discussions with regional governors, religious leaders, and of course, a wide spectrum of the Gambian communities, and of course, members of the armed and security services. And the discussion in my assessment was a very frank and very constructive discussion. And the purpose of the visit, as usual, is to have a direct interface and dialogue with members of the armed forces, in which case I would be privileged to know their operational requirements as well as their living and working conditions. Basically also avail me the opportunity also to impart or perhaps share with them my policy initiatives and programs which collectively, if pursued, could lead the armed forces to another higher height.
The Army of the Gambia is made up of infantry battalion in the Gambia National Guard, Gambia National Army, and the Navy, which are all under the Ministry of Defense in Banjul. There is no conscription in the Gambia, and the age for voluntary enrollment for men and women is 18 and above. Recruits are enrolled for a specified minimum period in which they undergo training of between 4 to 6 months. Thereafter, they may choose to sign up for another specified time period. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Fatoumata Kasim.
The commander of the Gambia Navy says they are open for any cooperation to usher development at all levels. From the story, we will now go with a short commercial break and the news continues. Stay tuned.
The pride we take in our brand, the work we put into constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia, it's compared to none. From inception, our goal was to add value to the beautiful Gambian landscape. That's why we are proud innovators of community estates. Kololi Sands is an exceptional piece of work, tailored for ultimate convenience and luxury, to bring you an element of finesse that is rare but unique in its own. This is also our pride and joy, and we welcome you to the exquisite beauty right here in Kololi and right here on the waterfront. Kololi Sands, feel the ocean breeze at your doorstep.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is Gambia 24, and now to our remaining stories. The Gambia civil society organizations have raised concern over the slow and sometimes lack of progress in carrying out civil service and security sector reforms. And the chairman of the CSOs, John Charles Ndiaye, said the reforms of these two sectors cannot be overemphasized, as they are crucial in the development of the country. This is has the rest of that story.
Since the change of government in the Gambia in 2017, citizens and right activists have been calling on the government to deliver on its campaign promise of doing security and civil service reforms. There is a general consensus that the nation's civil service has a number of key capacity weaknesses that are worth addressing. The chairman of the civil society organizations, John Charles Ndiaye, said they remain concerned about the reforms of the civil service and security sector, as these sectors remain unchanged since 2017.
As civil society, we remain concerned about the slow and sometimes lack of progress in the areas of civil service reform and security sector reform. The urgency for reforms in the civil service and security sector institutions cannot be overemphasized. Thus, even though we welcome the development of the national security policy and the ongoing plans to create a national defense policy. However, by and large, the state of civil society, of civil service and security institutions remain largely unchanged since 2017.
Mr. Njai said they found it very disheartening as these two sectors are indispensable pillars in the governance and development of the country. He further added that until the country can boast of a professional and responsive civil service and security agencies to act in line with the human rights principles and standards, the dream of a well-governed Gambia enjoying sustainable development shall remain a fleeting dream. According to John Charles, the government should execute necessary reforms in order to reduce the skyrocketing crime rates and put the country on a good developmental footing.
Hence, if the country is to overcome or at least significantly reduce crime, ensure efficient delivery of quality, affordable, and accessible public services, create opportunities for citizens to earn decent means of livelihoods, thereby reducing the high cost of living, then there must be a robust civil service and security agency that are equally professional and efficient. Ultimately, it is when these opportunities and services are created and delivered that human rights become truly respected, protected, and fulfilled. Therefore, today we call on the government to do all it can to ensure that the necessary reforms are conducted immediately in order to enhance the protection of the rights and fulfillment of the needs of the citizens.
He called on the National Assembly members and political parties to play a proactive and leading role to enable the executive to fulfill its mandate. To him, these reforms are integral to system change, which should be the preoccupation of the parliament and the political parties. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
Moving on, the Gambia Police Force has on Thursday expressed concerns over safety of lives due to road accidents in the country. Spokesperson of the Gambia Police made this pronouncement as part of regular update on security matters on Thursday, and several factors leading to tragic accidents are enumerated by the traffic safety officials at the police headquarters in Banjul. We have more of that in this report by Binta Jallo.
Superintendent Lamin Jai of the Gambia Police Force noted that the daily road traffic accident is a major concern for law enforcement officials. Although the mobile traffic police is at work towards the tasks before them, the services of the Accident Investigation Department are increasingly being demanded. From the bits and pieces of road traffic cases, Police spokesman Superintendent Njai highlighted the common causes of accidents on records.
The causes of road traffic accidents are numerous, and they range from mechanical factors. They range from some other causes might be relating to the road condition, congestion, and all that. And sometimes the driver factor as well. That's the human factor. Also contributes a lot to road traffic accidents. But most importantly, when we conduct findings in accident investigations, the prevalent cause of road traffic accidents in the Gambia has to do with speeding. A lot of times we realize that drivers speed a lot in the Gambia. The highway code is such that there is a speed limit at certain residential areas, especially residential areas. There is a particular speed limit that drivers need to observe.
He blamed drivers for not adhering to traffic rules as one of the leading factors road accidents in the Gambia, on premise that a lot could be done to save lives on the roads. The police is of the view that the increase of speed bumps might be one of the best options. With any form of infrastructural intervention, drivers must still respect the laws governing traffic, according to Superintendent Njai.
if driver drives according to the speed limits, especially of residential areas, I'm not saying there will be no accidents, but even if there are accidents, the impact will be very minimal. We will not be seeing the fatal accidents that we see sometimes as a result of the speeding that drivers do.
The Gambia police has an eye over the usage of drugs by those behind the steering wheel. A warning is therefore being sent to these group of drivers.
We want to caution people to understand that they cannot drive vehicles when they are drunk. It is against the laws of the country. The Road Traffic Act and regulation are against that. And so people who find themselves in bars and clubs and pubs and so on, they need to be cautious. If they know they are too drunk to drive, they should allow somebody else, competent driver for that matter, to drive them home safely and not take the risk of being drunk and driving. And so that is definitely something we want to tell people. And as you mentioned, because the speed issue is a very critical aspect of accidents. And there is high likelihood that if you are drunk, you may not be able to control the speed of the vehicle.
Globally, road traffic cases are known for their contribution towards considerable economic losses to individual, families, and nations. The loss in this nature is traced from the cost of treatment as well as loss of productivity for those killed and disabled due to accidents and for family members who need to take time off work to care for the injured. It is estimated that road traffic crashes cost most countries up to 3% of their gross domestic product. More than 90% of road traffic death occurs in low and middle income countries. Even within high income countries, people from lower socio-economic backgrounds are more likely to be involved in road traffic crashes. For iAfrica News, Binta Jallow.
The Gambia Police Force are worried over the increasing rates of traffic road accidents in the country. Well, that was all from me and the rest of the crew on Gambia 24. For more of our interesting programs, you can stay connected with us. Up next is Special Edition with Ibrahim Presba. I am Sohna Tunkara. Thanks for watching and bye for now.